I think this is a fair comment. One of the posters over at wearesc.com, my other place where I'm hanging out when I'm not here, on Locked On USC every day, the poster made the comment, USC fans are overrating Jaden Mayava and the offensive line. However, the national media might be underrating USC's defense and their running back unit. I think that's a fair comment.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every single day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, you know it because I tell you every day, you can download this podcast on any platform, and whenever you listen, whenever you watch, this show is always going to be free. This show is always going to appreciate your support. We are literally just one long month away from kicking off the season, 39 days before USC and Missouri State take the field at the LA Coliseum. Tomorrow, depending if you're watching this episode of Locked On USC on Tuesday, I'm going to be in Las Vegas for the big conference media days. And so we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So as far as USC, how does everybody across the country see USC compared to USC fans? As we're looking at the rundown, the Big Ten, the big conference, I'm never going to say Big Ten again, it's my rule, they put out their preseason poll. I'll explain how that works. And then the Heisman. No candidates on USC's roster this year? We're going to take a deeper look at that. But as I mentioned, 39 days away, right? Coin toss. USC decides they're going to kick the ball. Caden Chittenden gets out there, puts the boot to the ball. Then again, who knows? Maybe Lincoln Riley, maybe he has that chip on his shoulder. He's walking around like this right now, right? A little upset with the way his offense looked last year. So maybe he wants the ball first. We saw him do that quite a bit last year in 2024. So it's not out of the question. I think this is also a fair statement. Last year, the Trojans on offense were inconsistent, despite what they had returning on that side of the ball. Let's not forget, you had what everybody thought was going to be the next hot commodity at quarterback with Miller Moss. You had 4 outstanding wide receivers, at least on paper. Your offensive line was returning mostly intact without Jonah Monheim. And defense. Yeah, you had Antonlynn. Everyone's anticipation was really high on that side of the ball. Well, USC fans, myself included, believe, I think most USC fans think that USC's defense in 2025 will be much better than it was in 2024. And last year was a pretty good defense. So defensively, I think USC should be able to go from above average, good, if we're going to categorize it, and put them in the very good to great category. That's the anticipation that most USC fans have for the Trojans on defense this year. Not quite sure how the rest of the country sees it. I know it opened up everybody's eyes, but the bottom line is they saw, 7-6, and USC was giving up fourth quarter leads. And a lot of times those fingers start pointing at the defense. So the D-line in 2025, if it's healthy, in other words, everyone's available, I think it's going to be able to create a lot of chaos, create some mayhem, get into the backfield, especially at those edge positions. Cam Fountain, Braylon Shelby, Anthony Lucas, they're all a year older. So again, if that's not the answer, I'm not sure what to say anymore. Cam Fountain was a true freshman last year. Braylon Shelby's kind of get into the mix. Second-year player. Anthony Lucas, we know what we want from him, but you got to keep him on the field. I've gone over the improved depth this offseason. If you've been watching any of the Locked On USC episodes, Keyshawn Silver, Jamal Jarrett, those guys are going to complement Kobe Pepe, Devin Tompkins, Jade Abasari. You've got a good rotation now on your defensive interior. I think the one thing the defense can do can improve on what they were last year, besides some, breakdowns, whether they were physical, mental, fatigue, create some more turnovers. That's what was missing last year. Get the ball back to the offense. A good to great defensive line, if they're getting pressure on the quarterback, that's going to make the secondary better. So now you're pressuring, you're forcing the quarterback to get rid of the ball sooner. Maybe the cornerbacks, guys in the secondary, can get their hands on the ball. I think everyone's really excited. They want to see how much better the linebackers will be with Rob Ryan. Talking about guys being a year older: Desmond Stevens, sophomore; Jaden Walker, redshirt freshman. So again, a year older for those guys. Stevens dipped his toes in the pool last year. Jaden Walker gets his chance this year. But now you've got more depth at that linebacker spot. And of course, we want Eric Gentry on the field at all times. And then you got Anthony Beavers back there as well. But here's the thing. There are question marks with USC's offensive line. And if we're talking about the quarterback position, we got to talk specifically about Jaden Mayava's decision-making. We know what he's capable of physically. And because of that, I think USC's running back room is suffering from guilt by association. No one really has a lot of confidence. USC fans do. I think they're wishing for it. But outside of that sphere, the outside the walls of Troy, people are wondering about USC's offensive line, especially with the whole DJ Wingfield thing going on right now. So if you don't have an offensive line that you have confidence in, people aren't going to really look at your running game, despite what Woody Marks did last year. So I don't think the offense is going to be terrible, and I think the defense will be bordering on very good to great. So it's just a matter of, can the offensive line squash any question marks? Can they show up? Can they do their job? Can Jaden Mayava shake off, making bad decisions and immediately look like the Jaden Mayava in the fourth quarter of the Texas A&M game, or for most of that game against Notre Dame? Pretty much every poll in every media outlet has USC outside the preseason top 25. And like I said, we're going to talk about that more in the second segment. Even the big conference, they're not looking at USC too favorably. So USC is on the outside looking in, preseason top 25. We anticipate wins over Missouri State and Georgia Southern and Purdue. Those wins aren't going to change the hearts and minds of the voters. Now, I guess what the question really is who's seeing the USC situation with clarity? The outside observers or the fans and the local media who have a better feel for the pulse of the program? Are you, USC fans, are you viewing things through Cardinal Gold glasses? Is it just kind of lazy research by folks in the media? Or are we, USC fans, are we sticking our heads in the ground like an ostrich? Are we pretending not to see what's really out there? Or do we not want to see what's really out there? From a personnel standpoint, USC upgraded on both sides of the ball. In fact, especially on offense, the skill positions. Waymon Jordan, he came in. You're returning Brian Jackson. You brought in Eli Sanders. Those three running backs are going to do a lot of damage. If USC's running game picks up from where it left off last year, I like their chances. Zacharias Williams, Prince Strawn, Jay Fair, DJ Jordan. Those are your those are going to be the main guys competing at wide receiver, trying to help out Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. Something else I wonder about is how much credit is USC getting from the media when it comes to how they improve their staff. You brought in Rob Ryan. Not saying Matt Entz was, bad, but Rob Ryan is, I don't know, it just feels like he's the right person, right place, right time to take over the linebacker room. You brought in Travon Reed to be a dedicated cornerbacks coach. You brought in a new strength and conditioning coordinator, Trumaine Carroll. And from all reports I've heard, the players like him, they respect him, but they understand it's hard. And that's probably what this team needed the most of. I'm hoping that Lincoln Riley is ready to handle the Big Ten. Excuse me, my bad. The big conference in year 2. It's not just a player personnel issue. I know I would say 80% of what everyone's looking at is who's on that roster. Who does USC have that can perform? So while it doesn't look good for DJ Wingfield, right now it looks like unless he gets a favorable review from the NCAA, he's probably going to have to try and get an injunction in court. It doesn't look good right now. Without him, with him, there was a question mark with the offensive line. Without him, that question mark gets an exclamation point right afterwards. So USC's got to solidify that offensive line, whether it's Micah Banuelos at left guard, Hayden Trader, whoever doesn't win the right tackle job. Is it Justin Toanu or is it Tobias Raymond? You've got Makai Sena. I don't know, maybe you slide John-Ray Reed to left guard. And you let Killian O'Connor play center. There's a lot of options. There's some versatility. It's not panic time, but they brought in Wingfield for a reason. They wanted more experience compared to what USC has. They got talent, just no experience. So we know what Jade Mayaba is. Big arm, big opportunity. He's got skill players surrounding him. It's just a matter of, as Coach Riley said, trimming the fat. Taking the good, making it great, taking his bad, and removing the bad as much as possible. If anything, I think the idea is that Coach Riley gets Mayaba to run some more RPO compared to last year, because that's going to open up the deep ball. When the opposing defenses have to take into account a quarterback that can run, all of a sudden now the guys in the secondary, if they see that quarterback rolling out or moving towards the line of scrimmage, receivers tend to get behind them. So I'm not sure anyone, including USC fans, is overrating Jaden and the offensive line. I think they're just hopeful. I guess that's the best way to do it. Especially because Coach Riley is known to be able to take quarterbacks and make them look good. So as far as the defense, I think they're going to look. USC fans know how good they were last year. We know how good they were last year because we're comparing it to what we saw before. That defense is going to take another step. In fact, after the first 3 games, statistically, I think USC's defense should be near the top of all categories. Missouri State, Georgia Southern, Purdue. That's how USC's defense is going to make everybody else go, okay, let's reevaluate USC this year. We're also going, I think the guys who are voting preseason on USC, they need to reevaluate what they know, what they see, what they think. Because USC, not getting a lot of respect. Which one am I supposed to be reading first here? Oh, sorry, wrong one. Technical difficulty. There we go. Have you ever decided at the last minute, you want to head out to a baseball game with friends or family? Oh, I got something to talk about. I don't know. Maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. I've had that feeling before. That's exactly where GameTime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. Trust me, use GameTime. Don't even trust your friends. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merchandise, maybe even get a party together. Get a whole bunch of you going to the game. GameTime will make that possible. GameTime makes buying tickets fast and simple. In fact, Prices on the app will actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch. And they've got these incredible last-minute deals. Clear seat views and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Trust me, use GameTime. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. GameTime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On Major League Baseball, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming Major League Baseball game. By the way, Dodger fans, the Minnesota Twins are in town this week. Check it out. Seat views, right? You can see them in the app, so you know what you're getting before you check out. And GameTime is 100% reliable, even more so than your friends. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. The unofficial Big Conference preseason media poll is out, and the USC Trojans, well, they're not near the top, and they're not at the bottom. They're right smack dab in the middle. There's 18 teams. USC checked in at number 9. So for those of you who aren't aware, the Big Conference doesn't actually have coaches voting on a preseason poll. They stopped doing that, I don't know, about 15 years ago. So what they do is the Cleveland.com newspaper, whatever that is. Anyway, they took over. They tapped into 24 voters, and they compiled the preseason Big Conference poll. USC, I mentioned, they came in at number 9. The Trojans are being pretty much looked at. It's a pretty consistent thing as a 7 or 8 win team, pretty much by everybody. Pick an outlet. Over under 7.5. 7 wins, 8 wins. Not many people anticipate USC doing better than that. Like I said, too many close losses last year, and there seems to be a lack of confidence building in how Lincoln Riley has the program heading. I talked about this on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. USC finishing 9th in the Big Conference would be pretty disappointing, especially when you're coming off back-to-back 7-6 and 8-5 seasons. Last year was 7-6, 8-5 was in 2023. Look, we just got to face reality. Until USC gets back to looking like USC, they're not going to be getting the benefit of the doubt like they used to. That's just the reality of the situation right now. We have to live with it. That, and something else. We can be honest about this. No one from the Midwest or the East Coast knows their head from their butt. Pretty much. I mean, you got a couple of national pundits out there that do their research, give some informed opinions. But most of these guys from the Midwest, East Coast, they do a cursory, what's on USC's roster? How many games did they win? Okay, this is how we're voting. So this year, so far, the preseason poll came out. The Big Conference has 2 teams. Well, the Cleveland.com Big Conference poll has 2 teams way out in front. You got Penn State number 1, Ohio State number 2. Penn State got 11 of the 24 first-place votes. Ohio State got 10. Oregon got 2. Michigan got 1. I want to remind everyone, okay? Oregon breaking in another quarterback, Dante Moore, the guy who left UCLA with 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. No bueno. Ohio State breaking in a new quarterback, probably going to be Julian Sayin. Michigan, they're breaking in a new quarterback that's never thrown a pass in college. Yet somehow they got a first place vote. So despite Ohio State having, they're starting a new quarterback, they're replacing 15 guys that went off to the NFL, everyone in the Midwest is giving Ohio State the benefit of the doubt. And they deserve it. They won the national championship last year, and they've been recruiting pretty well, like since forever. So I get it. And I understand why Penn State's number 1. We've gone over that before. Here is the poll, 1 through 18. Excuse me. Penn State 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Illinois 4, Michigan number 5 with that first place vote. Number 6, Indiana. Number 7, Iowa. Nebraska 8, USC number 9, Washington 10, Minnesota 11, Wisconsin 12, Michigan State 13, Rutgers, tie at 13, Michigan State, Rutgers. Number 15, UCLA, Maryland 16, Northwestern 17, Purdue checks in the caboose at number 18. This is who USC plays. All right. You've got number 3, Oregon. You got number 4, Illinois. You got number 5, Michigan, number 7, Iowa, number 8, Nebraska. And USC also gets easy games at the end of the year. Number 15, UCLA, number 17, Northwestern, number 18, Purdue. USC won't play Oregon until November. So let's just put number 3 to the side for the time being. I told you they get that early gimme game against Purdue. You get another easy gimme at the end of the year with Northwestern. Those are the 2 bottom feeders. I think UCLA is going to be better than 15. Don't tell anybody I said that. I think they'll be better than 15. Now, those games at Illinois and at home against Michigan, those are going to be the games that where USC makes everyone kind of eat crow. All those voters are going to say, all right, we made a mistake. Oops, my bad. Yeah, they're going to pull a Kyle Ford. My bad. Like, I can deal with teams 1 through 4. I'm fine with that. But teams 5 through 8, just literally Midwest guys protecting their own. There's no rhyme reason for this. Someone tell me why I get Michigan beat USC last year. All right, we can have that discussion. Indiana, I hope they beat Illinois because their non-conference schedule is not going to set them up for a tough game. 7, Iowa. 8, Nebraska. USC beat Nebraska. Iowa comes to the Coliseum. And then number 9, USC. I don't know. To me, this just feels like Midwest home cooking. Lack of respect for USC. Tired of watching USC beat those teams year after year after year, whether it was in the Rose Bowl, out of conference, bowl game, whatever. They're done with it. They want USC to prove USC is who they are. So there's your big conference preseason poll, one day ahead of the big conference media days that start. Yep. Can't wait. We're, like I said, 39 more days till the season kicks off. Media days for me, the season is kicked off. Back to work again. All right, one more segment to go. The Heisman odds, they're pretty high for USC. When I say high, I mean like you're going to, if you bet and you win, you're going to win a big chunk of change. We'll talk about that next. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can be. Might even spare you a little money to go bet on a USC team or a player for the Heisman. Whether you're growing your savings, planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO. It's going to give you full visibility, total control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, all of your spending, and you can do it all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also going to start building some wealth. My biggest challenge, managing my spending habits. I'm going to Vegas, not the best place for me. But Monarch Money makes it that much easier. If I can afford my own personal CFO, guess what? So can you. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Not even a dark horse Heisman candidate on the roster. Can you believe that? Not even a dark horse. Someone on the outside looking in, a long shot. Well, according to BetMGM. On3 put out an article the other day talking about dark horse Heisman guys to keep an eye on in 2025. I checked out the list. I thought, all right, I'm going to see a couple of Trojans on there. Jaden Mayava, maybe Makai Lemon. No, did not happen. I was a little shocked. Here are the presumptive frontrunners according to BetMGM. These are the guys they anticipate have the best shot at winning the Heisman Award in 2025. So you got Arch Manning, quarterback at Texas, plus 600. You got Garrett Nussmeier, LSU, plus 800. Clemson's Cade Klubnik, plus 900. Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, plus 1,000. And then you got Penn State's quarterback, Drew Lohr, plus 14. South Carolina quarterback, Lenora Sellers, plus 1,800. Oregon quarterback, this one just blows me away, plus 1,800. Ohio State, Julian Sayin, plus 1,800. Florida quarterback, DJ Lagway, 1,800. This guy's at least got some playing time under his belt. And then you got Miami's quarterback, Carson Beck, who transferred from Georgia at plus 25. Oklahoma's transfer quarterback, John Mateer, plus 2,500. Arizona State quarterback, Sam Levitt, same odds at plus 2,500. So I said, you know what? If BetMGM doesn't have any USC players, let's go check out FanDuel. Let's see what their odds are. Interestingly enough, they have Miller Moss, plus 4,800. Miller Moss, quarterback, Louisville. I had to scroll all the way down. I had to keep scrolling to find Jaden Mayava, plus 6,500. Hey, anybody got $20? Go lay $20. You're going to get a hell of a return if Jaden wins the Heisman Award. Now, what I can say, at least FanDuel has Jaden above Nico Iamaleava. They have him listed at plus 8,000. So you got Jaden plus 6,500. Hey, got an extra $10? Throw it down on Nico. Like I said, we're talking about money right now. Forget who your favorite player is. This is all about making money. It's about betting. So all of those guys, save for Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver from Ohio State, those are all quarterbacks. Last year's Heisman winner, Travis Hunter, kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he was that two-way player. You haven't seen a lot of those. But I mean, he took so many reps on both offense and defense, and he balled out. And he did it on an average team, on an average to below average team. He was Colorado. So he won the Heisman. Well deserved. But it got me thinking, where is Makai Lemon? Why isn't he on any list? He could play both ways. He doesn't have to. That's the difference. Unlike in 2022, when he played a little bit of cornerback, USC has plenty of cornerbacks in 2025. They're not going to ask Makai to play both ways, offense and defense. So while they did not have Makai Lemon, FanDuel did have Zachariah Branch listed at plus 25,000. So Makai Lemon doesn't need to be Travis Hunter. He doesn't need to play wide receiver and cornerback or nickelback or whatever position he was playing on the secondary. But Makai could be more like, like a Charles Woodson or a Rocket Ishmael. Woodson won the Heisman. He was a true defensive back, but he also thrived on special teams. So as a defensive back, he put up 44 tackles, 8 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. Bleh. And he also had 5 tackles for loss. That was in 1 year. On offense, he had 238 yards receiving, 41 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he also contributed on special teams, 300 yards on punt returns with a touchdown. Now, in 1990, Rocket Ishmael did not win the Heisman. He came in second. This is where I think Makai Lemon most closely fits. This is the comparison. So Ishmael came in second place to Ty Detmer, the quarterback from Brigham Young. Rocket was one of those players where, number one, he played at Notre Dame, so that helped. Makai plays for USC, that helps. And when USC and Notre Dame play each other, you're looking for one of those Heisman moments. That's why we keep the tradition going, why we keep the rivalry alive. Anyways, what Rocket Ishmael did, he was good. On offense, 32 catches, 700 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mekhi is going to double that number. He will have close to 60 receptions. I don't know if he'll have 1,400 yards. He'll have 1,000. And Rocket was the only guy in NCAA history, to this day, I believe, still, to return 2 kickoffs for 2 touchdowns in 2 different games. That's pretty amazing. So why not Mekhi? 1,000 yards receiving. You know he's going to put up some scores. He's going to be electric. Maybe a special team touchdown here or there. 1 punt return, 1 kick return. If he puts up those types of stats, he'll be in New York for the ceremony. He better be. And maybe Jaden Mayava turns out to be one of those guys who wasn't on anyone's radar and then all of a sudden shows up. Wouldn't be a bad thing. Here's the bottom line. USC should always have someone in the Heisman conversation, especially a quarterback, and especially if Lincoln Riley is your coach. All right, that's it for this episode of Locked On USC. We covered a lot. So we talked about, hey, who's seeing USC for what they really are? Are we looking at everything through cardinal and gold glasses, or is everybody else right? Big conference, the Cleveland.com. They put it out. USC, no better than number 9. And then we'll see what happens. USC, depending on what happens with USC this year, we'll see if they have a Heisman dark horse candidate. Right now, no one's even considering Jaden Mayava. Not on anybody's list. But I will be back again tomorrow with another episode of Locked On USC. That's what we do around here. And don't forget, when you're done with Locked On USC, hit up Brian Smith over there on the portal. You can catch that on YouTube, the Locked On Network, and then get on over there to weareSC.com. There's going to be a lot of content coming up for you this week. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.